The coffee maker's automatic timer kicked in at 5:47 a.m., filling our Denver apartment with that familiar brewing sound. Willow had already left for her night shift at Presbyterian St. Joseph Hospital, her scrubs rustling in the dark as she kissed my forehead goodbye around midnight. 8 months married, and I still felt like the luckiest guy alive, or at least I did until 3 hours ago. I'm Kieran, 28, software engineer at a fintech startup downtown. The kind of guy who debugs code for 12 hours straight, but can't figure out why his wife leaves her iPhone charging in the bathroom instead of on her nightstand like a normal person. Tonight, that weird habit would unravel everything I thought I knew about the woman I married. Let me back up. Willow and I met 3 years ago at Novo Coffee on Tennyson Street. She was reading some dense nursing textbook, highlighter in hand, auburn hair falling across her face. I was the awkward tech guy who spilled espresso on his MacBook, trying to work up the courage to talk to her. She laughed, not at me, but with this genuine warmth that made my chest tight. "Computers and coffee don't mix," she'd said, helping me clean up. But maybe we do. 2 years of dating followed. 2 years of what I thought was the most respectful, patient relationship of my life. See, Willow had what she called complicated history with intimacy. She'd lost her virginity to some guy named Dexter in college. Her words were always vague, but the implication was clear. Something had happened. Something that hurt her. Something that made physical intimacy feel unsafe. "I need time," she'd tell me during those late-night conversations when I'd hold her shaking hands. "I need to know you're different, that you won't, that you'll wait." And God, I waited. I waited because I loved her. I waited because I thought I was helping her heal. I even paid for her therapy sessions with Dr. Chen downtown, $180 a week, so she could work through whatever trauma Dexter had left behind. My friends thought I was crazy. My brother straight up asked if I was gay. But I knew what I had, a woman who'd been broken by someone else's selfishness, and I was going to be the man who proved not everyone would hurt her. The waiting ended on our wedding night last April. Suddenly, all those boundaries dissolved. Suddenly, she was confident, experienced, almost eager. It felt like a switch had flipped. When I mentioned how natural everything felt, how quickly she seemed comfortable, she'd just smile and say healing was a beautiful thing. That love had made her whole again. But small things started nagging at me. The way she knew positions I'd never shown her, how she'd casually mention techniques or preferences, then catch herself and claim she'd read about it online. Sometimes I'd catch her quickly closing her phone when I walked into a room, or see her delete text threads that seemed innocent enough. When I'd ask about her past, not invasively, just normal couple stuff, she'd shut down completely. "Why do you need to know?" she'd ask, her voice getting that edge that meant the conversation was over. "I told you it was complicated. Isn't it enough that I'm here with you now?" It should have been enough. For almost 3 years, I convinced myself it was enough. Then came last Tuesday night, December 15th, 2:33 a.m., according to the alarm clock's red numbers. Insomnia had been hitting me hard lately, probably stress from the new product launch at work. I'd gotten up to use the bathroom and there it was. Willow's iPhone 14 plugged into the outlet by the mirror. She always charged it there during her night shifts, said the bathroom had the best reception for her work calls. I'd never, ever snooped. Never even been tempted. But something felt different that night. Maybe it was the accumulation of all those small inconsistencies. Maybe it was the way she'd snapped at me earlier when I'd joked about her mysterious past. Maybe it was just gut instinct, finally screaming loud enough for me to hear. Her passcode was our anniversary, 0428. The lock screen showed nothing unusual. Messages from her sister about Christmas plans, a few work group chats, some TikToks she'd saved. Normal wife stuff. I almost put it down, feeling guilty for even looking. But then I noticed the iCloud sync option. All those deleted photos and videos, potentially recoverable. My finger hovered over the button for what felt like an hour, but was probably 30 seconds. I pressed it. The recovery process took forever, little progress bars filling while my heart hammered against my ribs. Photos started populating. Normal stuff at first. Selfies, food pics, screenshots of Pinterest wedding ideas from our engagement period. Then I saw the date stamps, videos from 3 years ago, 2 years ago, time periods when she'd claimed to be too traumatized for any physical intimacy. I clicked on the first video. My world ended at 3:17 a.m. in our bathroom, with the coffee maker gurgling in the distance and my wife's phone showing me exactly who she really was. The first video was date-stamped March 15th, 2021, 4 months before we met. Willow, my traumatized celibate Willow who needed 2 years of therapy to feel safe with intimacy, was on screen with 2 men I'd never seen before. She wasn't just participating, she was directing, confident, experienced, enthusiastic in ways that made my stomach turn inside out. I dropped the phone, actually dropped it, and the clatter against the bathroom tiles sounded like thunder in the silence. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely pick it back up. But I had to keep looking. I had to know there were more videos, more photos, different guys, different locations, different time periods that spanned our entire relationship. Some from college, sure, but others were from when she was supposedly healing with Dr. Chen, when she was telling me she needed more time, more space, more patience. One video was recorded in what looked like a hotel room. The timestamp read July 2022, 3 months after I'd proposed. 3 months after she'd cried in my arms about how scared she was of physical intimacy, how she needed me to be gentle with her because of what Dexter had done. The man in the video wasn't Dexter. I knew Dexter. I'd met him once at a college reunion. This was someone else entirely, and Willow was anything but scared. I sat on our bathroom floor for 2 hours, scrolling through a digital archive of lies. Every video, every photo was a nail in the coffin of everything I thought I knew about my wife. The woman I'd patiently supported through trauma recovery. The woman I'd paid thousands in therapy bills for. The woman who'd made me feel like a hero for waiting, for being different, for proving that not all men were monsters. By the time I heard her key in the front door at 7 a.m., I'd deleted the recovery folder and put her phone back exactly where I'd found it. I'd also thrown up twice and had what I'm pretty sure was a panic attack. "Hey baby," she called out, hanging her scrubs in the hallway closet. "You're up early. Couldn't sleep again?" I was standing in the kitchen, staring at the coffee maker like it held the secrets of the universe. "Yeah," I managed, "just couldn't turn my brain off." She walked over and wrapped her arms around me from behind, pressing her face against my neck. The same gesture she'd done 1,000 times before. Now it felt like a stranger touching me. "Poor baby," she murmured. "Too much stress at work. You need to take better care of yourself." The irony of her talking about taking care of myself when she'd spent 3 years systematically lying about her identity almost made me laugh or scream. I wasn't sure which. "How was your shift?" I asked, because that's what husbands do. They ask about their wives' shifts. They don't accuse them of elaborate deceptions based on deleted iPhone videos. "Long. Mrs. Patterson in room 314 is getting worse. Her family's struggling with the decision about life support." She pulled away and started making herself coffee. "It makes you think about what really matters, you know? About being honest with the people you love." I choked on my orange juice. Actually choked, coughing and sputtering while she patted my back with the same hands that had been doing things in those videos that contradicted everything she'd ever told me about her comfort level with intimacy. "You okay?" she asked, genuine concern in her eyes, the same eyes that had looked directly at me while lying for 3 straight years. "Fine," I wheezed. "Just went down wrong." The next week was psychological torture. I'd watch her get ready for work, brush her teeth, make small talk about Christmas plans with her sister, and all I could think about was the archive of evidence that she wasn't who she claimed to be. Not that she'd had sex before. I wasn't some possessive psycho hung up on her past. It was that she'd constructed an elaborate false identity and manipulated my emotions and values to maintain it. She'd studied me like a mark. Figured out that I was the kind of guy who'd feel protective of a wounded woman, who'd respect boundaries, who'd feel special for being the one to help her heal. She'd weaponized my decency against me. Every night when she left for work, I'd be tempted to check her phone again, to see if there was more. but I already knew enough to destroy me. The question wasn't what else she'd hidden. It was whether I could live with what I'd already found. By Friday, I couldn't. I had to confront her. I had to know if my marriage was salvageable, or if the last 3 years of my life had been an elaborate con job, orchestrated by someone I'd never actually met. I waited until Saturday morning. Willow was making pancakes, her weekend ritual, humming some song I didn't recognize while bacon sizzled in the pan. The domestic tranquility felt surreal given what I was about to detonate. "We need to talk," I said, setting her iPhone on the kitchen counter between us. She glanced at the phone, then at me. Something shifted in her expression. About what? About who you really are. I opened the Photos app and pulled up the recovered files I'd screenshotted on my own phone. About these. The color drained from her face. The spatula slipped from her hand, clattering against the stove. For a moment she just stared at the screen, and I watched something die in her eyes. Not shame, but the realization that her performance was over. "That's not... How did you..." She grabbed the phone as if she could make the evidence disappear. "You went through my phone. That's what you're leading with?" Not an explanation, but outrage that I found out. She set the phone down with shaking hands. "Kieran, I can explain..." "Explain what exactly? Explain how you've been lying to me for 3 years. Explain how you made me pay for therapy for trauma that didn't exist. Explain how you manipulated me into thinking I was helping you heal when you were having the kind of sex life that most people only fantasize about. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think." The words exploded out of me. "You told me Dexter traumatized you. You told me you needed time, needed patience, needed me to prove I was different, and the whole time you were having threesomes and making videos with random guys." She started crying. Real tears, not the crocodile kind, which somehow made it worse. "I did it because I was scared," she whispered. "I was scared you wouldn't want me if you knew who I really was. So you lied about who you really were instead?" "I wasn't lying." She wiped her eyes with her sleeve. "I mean, I was, but that person in those videos, that wasn't really me. That was just experimentation. A phase. I was trying to figure out what I wanted, and when I met you, I realized I wanted something real, something meaningful." I stared at her. "Do you hear yourself? You're saying the person I fell in love with doesn't exist, but the person in those videos isn't real either. So who the hell are you?" "I'm your wife," she said desperately. "I'm the person who loves you, who chose you, who wanted to build a life with you. Based on lies, Willow. Everything about how we got together was based on lies you told to manipulate me." She was quiet for a long moment, the pancakes burning on the stove behind her. "I researched you," she said finally, so quietly I almost missed it. "What?" "After we met at the coffee shop, I looked you up on social media. I saw your posts, your photos, the things you shared. I could tell what kind of person you were. Good, traditional, the kind of man who'd want to protect someone, who'd value purity." The word hit me like a physical blow. "You created an entire fake personality based on my Facebook posts." "I wanted to be worthy of you," she said, fresh tears streaming down her face. "I wanted to be the kind of woman you'd want to marry. By lying to me for 3 years, by making me feel like I was saving you when you didn't need saving." "But you did save me," she insisted. "Being with you changed me, made me want to be better, made me want to be the person I was pretending to be." I felt something break inside my chest, not my heart, that had shattered days ago, something deeper, trust in my own judgment maybe, faith in my ability to know what was real. "I need some air," I said, grabbing my keys. "I can't." "I need to think. Kieran, please." But I was already out the door, leaving her standing in our kitchen with the smoke alarm beeping and the smell of burnt pancakes filling the air. I drove to Red Rocks and sat in the parking lot for 4 hours, staring at those ancient stone formations and trying to process the fact that my marriage was built on quicksand. Every memory felt contaminated now. Our first kiss, our engagement, our wedding vows, all of it filtered through the knowledge that she'd been performing a character, she'd designed specifically to trap me. When I finally came home, she was sitting at our kitchen table with a bottle of wine and what looked like a prepared speech. "I called Dr. Martinez," she said before I could speak. "I made us an appointment for Monday. Couples therapy. We can work through this." I sat down across from her, studying this woman I'd thought I knew. "Do you even think what you did was wrong?" She considered the question longer than I wanted her to. "I think," she said finally, "that I made choices I'm not proud of because I was afraid of losing you. And I think we can't change the past, but we can decide how to move forward." Which wasn't really an answer at all. Dr. Martinez had the kind of office that screamed expensive therapy, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, abstract art, strategically placed tissue boxes. He was probably mid-50s, with kind eyes and the sort of measured speaking voice that suggested he'd heard everything before. We'd been seeing him for 3 weeks. 3 sessions of Willow explaining her journey of self-discovery, and me trying not to explode every time she reframed her calculated deception as some sort of romantic transformation. "I want to revisit something you mentioned last week, Willow," Dr. Martinez said, during what would be our final session. "You said you became the person Kieran needed you to be. Can you elaborate on that?" Willow shifted in her chair. She'd been doing that a lot lately, small, nervous movements that suggested the mask was getting harder to maintain. "I mean, that meeting Kieran inspired me to be a better version of myself, to leave behind the destructive behaviors and embrace the woman I was meant to be." "But that's not what you told me at home," I interjected. "At home you admitted you researched my social media and created a personality you thought I'd find attractive." Dr. Martinez leaned forward slightly. "Willow, is that accurate?" She was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "I may have looked at his online presence to better understand his values." "Jesus Christ," I muttered. "Kieran, I can see you're frustrated," Dr. Martinez said, "but I want to understand something from your perspective. If Willow genuinely changed during your relationship, if she genuinely became more aligned with your values, would the motivation for that change matter?" The question hung in the air like smoke. I'd been wrestling with it for weeks. "I don't know who she really is," I said finally. "How can I love someone when I don't know if their personality is real or performed?" "That's valid," Dr. Martinez said. "Authenticity is crucial for intimacy." "Willow, help me understand. Who are you when you're not trying to be what someone else wants?" Another long silence. Then Willow started crying. Not the desperate tears from our kitchen confrontation, but something quieter and more devastating. "I don't know," she whispered. "I've been performing different versions of myself for so long that I don't remember who I was before I started." It was the first thing she'd said in weeks that felt true. "That's actually a breakthrough, Doctor," Martinez said gently. "Acknowledging that is the first step toward authentic self-discovery. But Kieran, I have to ask, are you willing to be part of that journey with her?" I looked at my wife, really looked at her, maybe for the first time since that night in the bathroom. She looked exhausted, hollowed out, like someone who'd been running a con for so long she'd forgotten it was a con. "I don't think I can," I said, and saying it out loud felt like stepping off a cliff. I keep trying to find a way back to loving her, but I realize I never actually knew her. I fell in love with a character she was playing, and even if she figures out who she really is, I can't unknow the fact that she's capable of this level of deception. Willow flinched like I'd hit her. "So that's it? 3 years of marriage, and you're just giving up?" "3 years of lies," I corrected, "and I'm not giving up. I'm accepting reality. We don't have a marriage to save. We have the remnants of an elaborate performance that I was too naive to recognize." Dr. Martinez set down his pen. "This is painful for both of you, and I want to acknowledge that. Kieran, your feelings of betrayal are completely understandable. Willow, your fear of rejection led to choices that ultimately created the exact situation you were trying to avoid. Sometimes relationships can't survive foundational dishonesty, even when both people have love for each other. That night, I slept in our guest bedroom for the first time. Willow knocked on the door around midnight, but I pretended to be asleep. I heard her crying in the hallway for 20 minutes before she finally went back to her bedroom. 3 months later, I'm writing this from a studio apartment in Lodo, waiting for our divorce papers to be finalized. The hardest part isn't missing Willow, it's mourning someone who never existed. I keep catching myself thinking about our memories, then remembering that every single one was contaminated by her deception. People ask if I'm angry. Honestly, I'm mostly just sad. Sad that she felt like her real self wasn't worth loving. Sad that I was so easily manipulated. Sad that we'll never know if we could have had something real because she never gave us that chance. I've started dating again, carefully. Every new woman I meet, I find myself looking for signs of performance, for inconsistencies in their stories. It's exhausting, but maybe necessary. Maybe this experience will help me recognize authenticity when I find it. As for whether I'm the asshole in this situation, I honestly don't know. Maybe I should have tried harder to help her find her real self. Maybe I should have been more understanding about the fear that drove her to lie. But I also think I had a right to informed consent about who I was marrying. I think I deserved the chance to fall in love with her actual personality, not a crafted persona designed to manipulate my emotions. The woman I thought I married would have agreed with me. The woman I actually married, well, I guess I'll never know what she would have thought because I never met her. Reddit, was I wrong to walk away from someone who claimed she'd changed for love, even if that change started with deception? Because some nights, lying alone in this new apartment, I honestly can't tell. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life drama. Got a take on the situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing from you.